Hi, I'm Ken Johnson. I was president of the OACP from April of 2012 till April 2013, and I was the police chief for the Fairview Police Department. It was an interesting time, 2012, 2013. If you'll remember, the economy was in a spiral. Oregon, by that time, was really getting hit hard. A lot of cuts in the state budgets, specifically DPSST, and the OSP. And so we were dealing with crime lab issues, but I think one of the biggest focuses during my term was training. DPSST at that time had about 40 staff cut, and they were cutting child abuse training, supervision and management training. And so our training committee worked hard on trying to develop curriculum and the ability to go out and to offer that training at little or no cost to try and bridge that gap. And I remember one part of our conversation was, it was a cost-benefit analysis and a risk analysis of, boy, if we show the legislature that we can continue to fill these gaps for them and take the heat off of them, maybe they won't fix the financial issues that we're suffering. And so it was a delicate balancing act, but we tried to fill that void because management supervision training is so critical. It's mandated by the state within so long of a person being promoted. And so it was a critical issue that we had to deal with. Okay. At the same time, December 11th, 2012 is when the Clackamas Town Mall shooting occurred. And that kind of changed the dynamic of law enforcement and the mass shooting issues and brought it very close to home here in Oregon. Yeah. And that actually resulted in a shift in the governor at the time's stance on law enforcement. And I don't know if you remember, I mean, most of us will remember, that was about the time that nationally law enforcement was really suffering a lot of attacks, specifically from the media, Black Lives Matters, and a lot of these other issues that were coming up. It was becoming very difficult nationally and certainly in Oregon for policing, and our public image was taking a huge hit. And because of the Clackamas Mall Town Center shooting, Governor Kitzhaber, if you'll remember, asked for the Oregon Chiefs Association to send their president, the Sheriff's Association to send their president, and OSP superintendent to be recognized at the State of the State address that the governor made in January. And so we actually were there in like the fifth row back. We sat right behind the First Lady, the First Family, and he recognized us during the State of the State speech. And so it was very humbling and very honoring to stand up, and in essence, I represented all of the municipal police, tribal police, railroad police in the state, and that was a huge honor. When I was elected, April 2012, Carlin Campbell had announced that she would retire. And I cannot remember how many years Carlin had basically was the spearhead, certainly the coordinator for this association, but it was many, many. And so we were faced with the challenge of transitioning and figuring out what we would do to fill that void. And I'm very proud to say that I think it was a very seamless, smooth transition as Marie, Kevin, Anna, they all stepped up, the victory group. And as far as I'm concerned, it was a phenomenal year. And Carlin was certainly missed, but change is always a positive thing, and that was a very positive time, I think, for the association as we moved forward and made that transition. I'm very proud of that year, and that I had the opportunity to serve as the president during that time. And there's something I want to say about the presidency. I think it's a huge honor to be elected by your peers, specifically police chiefs and command staff, to lead an organization with the title of president. But the reality is the OACP is a team effort and a collaborative effort, and we do most of our work through committees and our executive director and the office staff. And so the successes that we have had through the years, whoever happened to have the title of president may get some credit for steering the ship, but certainly the committees and the executive director and office staff are what make this organization work and find our successes. During the year I served as president, we implemented some initiatives, and I thought I was a collaborative person, but I think I grew in patience and understanding and the ability to collaborate. As a chief, you have to learn to step back and let other people do things and sometimes make mistakes. And so I hope I grew in that. But I think I also grew emotionally because during my presidency, the adoption of our granddaughter was finalized through a series of events, and my dad passed away. And that all happened in that short 12-month period of time. So I grew a lot, and I think in a very positive way. We recognized in 2012, 2013 that there were a lot of us, there were a lot of very tenured, experienced police chiefs that were within 5 years of retirement. And so we took a strong look at that and said, we have got to do a better job of mentoring our second in commands and our command staff so that they can step in when we retire, hit the ground running, and not have any kind of a transitional issue. So that was very important to us because we were worried about a huge void. And as it turns out, in the last 2 years, if you look back, we've had a lot of police chiefs and past presidents that have retired. And I think we've filled that void fairly well. And so when we recognized that, we formed a new committee called the Second in Command Committee. And the emphasis on that Second in Command Committee was to develop a curriculum and a training set and to identify what we could do as an association to help mentor our second in commands and our command staff to bridge that gap and to smooth the transition. In the summer, I had the privilege of representing OACP, and there were some other, I think, the executive committee members that attended as well, and we were able to present a $10,000 check, I believe it was, to the Oregon Special Olympics. And so we went down there as part of the law enforcement group that represented the Special Olympic athletes and did fist, and everybody was high-fiving them, and I decided to be a smart aleck and fist bump them. And by the end of that, there's like 1,500 of these kids, and I was swollen, and I'd still suffer from that today, but we were able to present that check to them and really encourage the kids and build that positive gap with law enforcement and the athletes, and that was a privilege. Neat. That was fun. And then being recognized representing all of the police officers in the state symbolically at the State of the State address was a standout memory. Yeah. Through the Medal of Honor Committee, which I had the privilege of chairing for the Governor's Committee for 8 years, I introduced a suggestion about a Medal of Ultimate Sacrifice because the standards for the Medal of Honor are so high that it's exceptionally meritorious conduct, far beyond anything that would be routine. And the judgment of the committee at the time was the qualifications. A police officer shot in the line of duty did not qualify for the Medal of Honor. It had to be something really super heroic and spectacular. So we decided, or I came up with the Medal of Ultimate Sacrifice. And sadly, within months of the creation of that award, we had to award it. And so it's awarded to the survivors for their ultimate sacrifice when a police officer is killed in the line of duty. That's neat. And so that would be a highlight, that we were able to recognize the families. And Governor Kitzhaber, I think it was the first governor to award that. He had just been elected, and to his credit, and it was actually the chief from Rainier, I think it was the first recipient of the Medal of Ultimate Sacrifice, and the governor did not want to speak. He didn't want to be recognized. He came in there and he just gave the medal, and that was it. There was no family. It was more personal to the family, which is exactly what we wanted. Oh, okay. And so, those are huge memories. Yeah. I've touched on it already, but I would shout out again, Kevin, Marie, the past presidents. I wanted to say that I joined this association in 2004 And once I got involved in it, I was so impressed with the caliber of the individuals that we have in the organization. The chiefs, the command staff, second command. I was so blown away at the ethical standards and moral and dedication that these folks had that it inspired me to get involved in the association and ultimately go through the chairs. And then, as we talked about, when I was president, when I was elected president, Carlin stepped down. And so Marie, Kevin, Annie, you guys stepped in and really pulled together, helped the newly elected president trying to find footing. You guys were trying to find your footing, and we did all right.
Yeah,
we did all right. It was a very good year, and really set the foundation for where we are today, as far as the victory group stepping in where Carlin had filled that void for so many years. So that would be my big shout out. What I would say to new chiefs is these are very challenging times, but this is still an honorable profession. I believe that many of us, the profession picks us, we don't pick the profession. I think it's a calling for many of us. There's a reason why we're called, and we need good caliber police chiefs with high ethical standards, high morals, and strong work ethic and dedication that really will get us through these tough, challenging times as we turn the tide of public opinion back around. I mean, there's a lot of folks out there that support law enforcement and that believe in what we're doing. The media, I don't think we still have to work on that, and we still have to work on some public relations and external outreach, but we'll get there. And it's the new police chiefs that are the difference. They're the future of this. It goes back to the second in command committee that we talked about before. That was the future. They'll be the future of this organization and the profession that will move us forward, into the 21st, 22nd century. We rely on them. I was in law enforcement for 44 years, in one capacity or another. Again, I believe it was a calling. I can imagine doing anything else. Were there challenging times? Absolutely. Were there difficult times, stressful times? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, this is a rewarding career. It is, you truly make a difference. I don't think a lot of people can say they truly make a difference where we save lives. And you don't always know it. You don't know what you did during the day that may have changed someone's behavior and saved a life. We don't know. But I can tell you that this is an honorable profession. I am very proud to have served. I want to continue to serve in the OACP in various capacities because we are in an honorable profession. We can hold our head high.